Grammy, Mona.
Yay.
Awesome. It's great to be on the show. I'm streaming it to my show as well.
Okay.
And, so we're doing this nice middle of the afternoon, well, evening for me, middle afternoon for you, 5 p.m. evening for me.
Nope, it's 5 p.m. for me too. I'm just right above you.
Oh, that's right. You're not,
Yep.
I thought of you being in Los Angeles because we talk about LA all the time.
Yeah,
Wow.
no. I've just been advocating for those out in LA and have a partner in crime who happens to be on here. You had talked about her this morning, Audit LA. You
Yes.
thought it was Streets LA.
I thought
Yeah.
she, Audit LA, she, okay. Yeah. You were like,
Audit
where's
LA
her
is a
interview?
she.
Streets LA. Yeah.
Yep, Streets LA is a very tall, chocolate-colored black man that is just very, very, very handsome and brilliant and very full of advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
And Audit LA is a lady like myself in a chair and full of advocacy and bureaucracy.
Wow.
So, yeah, lots of change.
I love it. Love it. They're both in LA, rocking and rolling, getting people free.
They are. Isn't that kind of crazy? We won't get into too
Yeah.
much of it, but isn't it kind of crazy with the demonstrations and the protests going on right
Yeah,
now?
it's going crazy right now. LA is definitely like, oh, it breaks my heart what's happening because it's just the protests are looting businesses and it's, a lot of homes are getting destroyed. And it's crazy. Yeah. Not to get political, but it's crazy.
It is. It's definitely.
That's
It's
great
just
for Los
nuts.
Angeles.
Yep. So, if you don't mind, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but some of my people that are in my channel may not know who Joy Villa is. Could you give us a brief description of what you do and where you've come from?
Yes. Well, you gave me such an amazing, awesome intro. But hello, everybody. I see some regular people in the chat that are now watching my show, the Joy Vila Show. I see Jojo Bananas, Audit LA. We're just talking about you. So this is great. Irish Smart. I think I've seen you in my chat too. So I'm a singer songwriter. And I am, I came out of Scientology. I was in Scientology for 15 years. I'm also a filmmaker, and Jesus spoke to me clearly to come out of Scientology. And I was depressed. I donated $2 million to Scientology. I was coerced to donate that. And I was married to a Scientologist, so I was very much stuck in there, and I'd go into auditing sessions. I reached the state of clear and class 5 auditor trained, audited other people, got this narcissistic personality by being worshipped in Scientology, thinking like, oh, this is going to help me be a better actor and artist, and became really sucked into that world. And it devastated me because then I realized I'd never be good enough for them. I'd never be able to achieve perfect happiness or any kind of happiness without doing more things, that the more I did, the more they told me I needed to do, that it was mental torture, emotional torture, and spiritual torture, and that I was controlled by a coercive witchcraft run satanic cult, Scientology. So after 15 years, I got out. The Lord brought me out because I cried out. I said, Jesus, help me. And I didn't know at the time what I needed help with, but I knew the depression, the thoughts of offing myself, the death around me, the spiritual warfare that I was losing, the battle I was losing. I knew how bad that felt and how alone I was, isolated, surrounded by Scientologists on a Scientology campus in the middle of the UK, very far from my home of Los Angeles.
Right.
And, away from family, away from friends, except for Scientologists. And I just talked to Scientologists all the time. And I was working there 12 hours a day, volunteering. Actually, not volunteering. I was spending my own money. I was paying to be there. It's different.
Right. You're paying to be tortured.
Exactly. I was paying for it, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and selling books and working for the 12 hours a day, working in auditing for them, for their paying clientele. And I wasn't even on staff. I was on an internship. And the Lord spoke to me, brought me to Florida. I started my healing journey 2 years ago. And in February, so I hadn't done any Scientology. And I was just like, I don't know if I'll ever do that again. I just need break. I need time. But I was so ingrained with the abuse that they do. So I thought, okay, but it's good. And I was constantly battling. I got into witchcraft. I got into trying all these different things, tarot cards. I tried mushrooms, and it was my little acts of rebellion from Scientology, because
Sure.
that's hundreds of, well, that's thousands. That's at least 5 to 10,000, maybe $10,000 worth of indoctrination sessions I'd have to go through to reveal those crimes if I told that, right? So I was on my journey, and then finally I rededicated my life to Jesus, because I was really running from the truth. And it was only then, when I got baptized in February of this year, that my depression was gone, my feeling of wanting to off myself gone, this chasing feeling, this demonic attacks of I'm not good enough, completely gone. My anxiety, I had terrible anxiety. I would leave 20-minute voice notes to friends, like telling them all my fears, and people didn't know how to help me. And I was so bottled up in this thinking and numerical systems and this, and I have to do this, and I have to figure this out. I was my own God in my universe, and I did a horrible job, being God. So finally, when I surrendered and let go and gave it over to Jesus, I completely felt free and clean and cleansed. And I came back into the kingdom, and the Lord spoke to me clearly: leave Scientology. And I was going through healings. I had already renounced Scientology and a healing, a Christian healing deliverance.
Right.
So I was already like, okay, I renounce it, but maybe it'll end up still being good. Like in my mind, I hadn't fully let go, because the tentacles were very deep. The claws were very deep in me.
Holding on to hope.
Yeah. And I thought, and I wanted it so badly to be good. I wanted so badly for all this time and the money and the people that I knew, and the people and the suffering I saw, that I was trying to alleviate, and the fighting within. I always would try to write reports to try to make things right. And I thought, what's this particular person or this particular org? I didn't think it was the whole thing. And so when that finally blew up in my face, and the Lord told me clearly, and I was like, Lord, just tell me, obviously, if you want me to continue, or should I go OTA? Is it part of your plan? I don't want to laugh at myself.
Give me the
now.
lightning bolt and the clear sign.
I needed that, because I'm not the smart. I mean, okay, I'm very smart, but I'm not the least stubborn person you'll know. I'm kind of stubborn. I mean, you can tell me 3-4 times, and I won't hear it. I'm very hard-headed sometimes. So
yeah, I'm a little tenacious myself at times.
Right. And when you're on that path, you think you know best, and you're just going to keep going. And finally, I listened to the Lord, and he said, leave Scientology. And from then on, I was gone. I was out, like fully disconnected from Scientology. I knew what that meant. I was also scared and felt like nervous, and felt like, okay, just because I've left doesn't like permanently my mind, spirit. And I was like, it's fine. I'm not going to any org anyways, which was totally weird for me after going 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. So I'd already left, essentially. And then the Lord told me to write a book about my experiences, which I did. And it's out for pre-order. From Scientology to Christ, the escape they never wanted me to make. And that's on Amazon. And then the Lord told me to speak out about it and publish the book, right? Like, one thing is to write a book. The other thing is to publish it. The other thing is to speak out and tell your story and open yourself up for the fair game attacks. And so now that's what I did 3 weeks ago. My gosh, it's been less than a month. And I've been on all kinds of podcasts and interviews.
So far in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. And what I said at the beginning is that you're at the very, very start of your journey, and it's a healing journey. And I know I had a question that popped into my head when we were talking just a little bit ago, and then also from your live this morning where you had Jean Marie Davis on there.
Yes.
Did playing that role or filming the trailer for that, or knowing Jean Marie, did that have any effect on you of leaving Scientology?
Yeah, big time.
Jean Marie Davis is a survivor of 29 years of being human and sexually trafficked.
Sex trafficked, abused from age 2 to 29.
And our lovely Joy Vila will be the starring role. She is playing the part in the movie coming out.
Yep. Breaking Shadows.
Breaking Shadows.
Yes.
And dealing with Jean Marie, I was wondering if that affected you.
It did. Yeah, it did, because, I met her last year. She asked me to take on the role. We met through mutual friends. who they emailed me and they said, oh, and well, I knew this person, and it was just like a whole God thing where it came together.
I
And
love
so,
God things.
oh, I love God things so much. It's just like magical. I wasn't, people offer me roles, and because I'm on the out, I'm always knocking down doors and emailing. I have a team, and I've worked very hard to do movies. I've already done feature films and stuff and music. And so some people know who I am, and some people ask me, oh, would you like to be in this movie? And I love it. I love it when people ask me. Not all of those projects come to pass, right? For whatever reason. So when it came on my lap, I was like, oh, sure, this sounds awesome. Yeah, let's see. And, we started signing some paperwork. We were talking, and then Jean would just book herself on my calendar once she got my calendar link. And I love that so much. I'd just be like, oh, what do I have to do today? I'd be like, oh, talking to Jean again. And she talked to me like twice a week minimum. And through that, I got to know her really, really well. And then the Lord told me I was going to write the screenplay, but they had another script writer. And I've written feature films, not like a ton, but I've written 4 feature film scripts. 2, well, this will be my 3rd one that's gone into production and has won awards. So, but it's always like a big thing. It's like, I don't think of my like, oh, I'm the best because I've done it once. It's always learning, always growing, and this something of this magnitude, her story deserves to be written in, and it needs to be perfect, it needs to glorify God. It needs to be, give her respect for her survivor story and help other survivors and be entertaining. It has to also be an entertaining movie. In an hour and a half, you have to tell, almost 30 years worth of trials and tribulations, and you have to leave people with some hope at the end, because the good news is she got out and she's happy today, right? So it's a big undertaking. But I knew the Lord spoke to me and said I was going to write that. So I just said, oh, if you need any help, writing the script, let me know. I didn't really. And then that screenwriter ended up dropping out of the project. And I said, well, they're like, we need to find a new script writer. I said, I can do it. So
I'm your girl, right?
I did. So I read her book, and then our sessions became daily almost. And then getting to know her as a person, then hearing her story from her mouth was so extraordinary, because you see her, she's smiling, she's laughing, she's still fighting. Like she's a survivor. She was victimized, but she's not a victim. Not anymore. At the moment she was victimized. During those years she was victimized, but she got out and now helps other women and men get out of sex trafficking, and is an advocate big time. And
definitely makes advocacy personal. I loved what she was saying this morning. She said, that, what did she say? I'll have to think of it. I'm sorry. It just flew right out of my head. About it being, it's about love, and you're pushing that edge, but it's about love.
Yeah.
And it was just really profound what she said this morning. It really touched me. It definitely touched me. Well, that's why I wanted to bring you on, is to talk about advocacy for justice and change. And I've been so appreciative. I've been on your channel a couple of times for the pastors' mornings.
I know.
I absolutely adore it and love it. And you've given me credit a couple of times for helping people get out of Scientology.
You do amazing work, Mona.
And I have to confess, that's really not my role in all of this. We have 2 wonderful foundations, the SPTV Foundation and the Aftermath Foundation. And they're completely set up with resources and people and brains and all the power to help people that want to leave or that have left Scientology. And frankly, I would never turn somebody away, ever, 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 but I would probably point them in those 2 resources. My specialty, and where my heart lays, is advocating for justice and change. And that's where God kind of put it on me, when I had seen you and we talked a little bit, and I've been bothering the heck out of you and pestering you with emails and IDs and everything else, is that there is a chance for justice and change. And you being a conduit, especially with our administration, current administration, that he said, no, you need to be opportunistic, Mona. Fat Grammy, you need to be opportunistic. And Joy Villa's heart is there, and she's my daughter, and I want you to use her also.
Mm,
So use that conduit and be an advocate for justice and
mm,
change.
mm.
So that's kind of how this has come about and how you're being used in this. And I hope that you're okay with that and proud of that and just wanting to be like a sponge and using this for those that are survived or
Absolutely.
surviving Scientology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I say that on my show too. If there's anything I can do to help, and I am getting emails from people who are asking me, and I say I can point you in the right direction. I've sent a few people to the Aftermath Foundation, to SP
Mm-hmm.
Foundation, SPTV
Mm-hmm.
Foundation. And some people just want prayer. They just want to be able to tell their story after hearing my story.
Mm-hmm.
And they want some advice or another ear to listen to them. And I'm finding out what my role is in this advocacy. And the one thing I do know is God wants me to keep sharing my testimony. So
Yep.
I'm like, great,
I
Lord. I
agree.
mean, not for my glory, because at a certain point it's therapeutic to tell your testimony. But then at a certain point, you're kind of like, I'm tired of hearing my own story. I'm going to be honest. Like you're like, okay, do I need to keep talking about me? I think people get it, but the Lord tells me it's not about you, Joy. It's about
That's right.
sharing what you've gone through, and you have to tell it like it's fresh every time, because it
Right.
still is very fresh. And how dare I try to minimize or not bring light to something that is hurting so many people. So my role in this is to bring attention to the things I can bring attention to, and also show people that you can have a successful life after leaving Scientology, even if you've been in
Sure.
a long time.
That's a testimony in itself.
It is. There's healing. There's a lot of ex-Scientologists who reached out to me who are like, "Hey, I left, but I still don't have, like, how are you still smiling? Like, what's going on?" And I say, listen, I can't tell you exactly. Like, I can't save you, but I know a man who can help you, and it's up
That's
to you.
right. I
His
know a
name is
man.
Jesus. Like, for me, that's,
Yeah.
hey, I don't pressure anybody. I don't say you have to do it. This is not a cult. This is not a stats or point system. This is not a thing I can do to make it right. Can't do anything. We're saved by grace, and that's the only thing I can say. Hey, that's it, and it's free. It's the opposite of what I was doing, trying to work towards my salvation. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I love it. That's why I love what you do. Advocacy is all of this.
It
Um,
is. Well,
and
to be
Alex
real
Barnes
honest,
Ross, a good friend of mine too. He
yeah,
does
he's
amazing.
incredible.
Yeah, Apostate
There's
Alex.
so many people in so many different areas of the world, so many different areas of justice and the change and
Mhm.
protesting. And there's so many different ways to skin this cat. Sorry for the reference of skinning a cat, but you know what I mean. There's
Yeah.
just so many ways that this gets accomplished. And my question at the beginning of this was, why hasn't there been justice? Why hasn't there been change? What the heck? Why isn't the FBI raiding? Why isn't LAPD going and busting down the doors? The stories are atrocious. And
Yeah.
what I found was there was a lot of safe pointing, a word that
Mhm.
Scientology uses. There's a lot of infiltration. There's a lot of history, 70 years of it,
Yeah.
of Scientology going in and making places acceptable to them, telling the acceptable stories,
Yeah.
telling the shore stories.
Yeah.
And
I call it weaving and deceiving.
it absolutely,
Because
that's
Scientology
exactly
is
what it
run
is.
by the spirit of witchcraft. L. Ron Hubbard loved Aleister Crowley and spoke about it. And in witchcraft, you do deception. It's all about, and you weave and deceive. You can lie. It's for the greater good. So you'll lie about whatever you want to get your product, and they teach you how to lie in Scientology. They teach you to change the story around, like you said. And that's what Scientology does. And people get so easily fooled when it's from a beautiful place from beautiful face, and it looks clean. Because I remember I used to people would talk about Scientology. I'd be like, I'm just going to bring them to Celebrity Center. They'll see the castle for themselves. How
You'll
can you not
see the
witch?
beauty of it. Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's a bewitchment.
That's right. Well, I brought this up because Liz Gale had put this picture of this 5-year-old at the Mace Kingley Center last week, and I've done research.
I know Carol Kingsley, who started Mace Kingsley.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. We talked a little bit about it on your channel the other day, but Mace Kingsley is basically just a grooming center for little kids, and they promote that they'll start auditing children at day 1. So the day after being birthed, they're ready to start auditing and grooming your children and brainwashing your children.
Brainwashing, exactly. And I want people to realize, yes, there is horrific sexual crimes, I'm sure, that have been contributed and attributed to Scientology. I don't doubt, and I believe all of those stories. But the more insidious way they do it is, it's not like you walk in there, because I've been in the Mace Kingsley Center many times, because my stepdaughter was audited in Mace Kingsley, and I knew Carol Kingsley, who started. It's Mace, and Carol Kingsley. In fact, I regged her for money for the IS, and she donated a lot of money for the IS, International Association of Scientologists.
Right.
When you go in there, it is touted as it's grooming is very, like, because people don't understand how subtle Scientology is, right? You obviously do, but it's so subtle. You go in there and it's literally, there's crayons everywhere, there's kids' toys, and it's a part daycare center, because sometimes people are just watching the kids, but it's supposed to be giving the kids like crayons to draw, go in session with child Dianetics and child auditing, which at its lowest level, you could argue is not doing anything wrong. At its lowest level, they're just making the kids draw things and share, and they're asking them questions.
Sure.
But it sets the children up to, now they have to find it's eventually the auditing goes from childlike to more adult-like. Now you have to find crimes. Right. It sets you up to find the indoctrination. And it sets you up to believing that you're the bad one. So you never will judge Scientology, and you'll never try to get out of Scientology, because it's you who's bad. Because it set me up at 23 when I got in. I can't imagine what a 3-year-old, an 8-year-old, how that warps their mind. And you could argue, well, there's no abuse going on there. And maybe there wasn't any overt abuse, but it is abuse if you are brainwashing a child and they are growing up in the situations like that. And I think that's also why people won't believe it, because even if the cops, opened it up in the middle of a session, there's nothing, it's not like they're naked or something, right?
Right. There aren't any black eyes. There aren't black eyes or
exactly
or ripped clothes.
If it was like that, unfortunately, I almost wish it was more obvious, because they would be shut down. The fact that Scientology knows how to, someone said subversion, they know how to lie, they know how to hide it. The abuse happens way behind closed doors, way in the upper echelons, and after the person has been, fully indoctrinated, and to the point of they would take it and ask for more or pay for it. And then it's like that person's in deep. Like with Cassie and Diddy, like this picture. Cassie could physically have walked away, but the mental abuse and torture, he's 20-something years older than her, a billionaire. You think he didn't threaten her or make her feel like it's her fault, right? Constantly. She was 19 when he met her, and I think he was pushing 40, 37.
And at first you're like, oh, I can't leave. What would I be missing? Or the FOMO. And then
kids feel that power imbalance too. Like, don't I owe my parents but they're just trying to help me. I'm the bad kid. I did beat up that kid, and their parents are telling you, you're a bully. You have bullies at school. Why are you pulling that in? You need to do more courses. You need to come in. You need to do your purification, take vitamins, sit in a sauna for hours. What? And it definitely is abuse, but it's so subtle that people need to see. This is what cults do. They do a mind altering abuse that takes years to basically, goes into effect right away, but it's like it's boiling the frog. That doesn't make it any worse. In fact, I feel like that's worse, because if you slap me in my face, I know you're a bad guy. But if you just start tapping me easily and easier, until then I'm used to the abuse. By the time you slap me, I think, well, it's just like a tap, isn't it? Way different. I'll trust you way more.
But what would you tell this little girl, knowing what you know now, knowing all the facts? What would you tell this little girl now? And what about in another 10 years when they're trying to recruit her for the Sea Org?
Exactly.
What are you going to tell her then?
Exactly. That's the thing, is these kids then go into child auditing, then they go into the schools. You know, the schools,
The Apple schools and Delphi. And,
Delphi, exactly. They go into Delphi, which is a very upper crust, but poor parents can get in if they volunteer, if they work for the school, their kids can get in for free. And of course, you want your kids to have the best Scientology education as a Scientology parent. So I know they would be working their bones off. I knew a photographer. Poor woman. Oh my gosh, it's such a sad story. She was basically imparted from France. And I met her when I first got into Scientology, and I was just young, dumb, didn't know anything. And beautiful French girl with her boyfriend at the time, an American guy, very handsome guy. And I thought, oh my gosh, these people are so Hollywood. They're so cool. And I'm playing guitar in their house on New Year's Eve, and we're all taking Scientology courses. And I'm like, I've made it. This is the bohemian lifestyle, right?
Right.
Fast forward, they get married. They have a little daughter. Then they get divorced. Well, he kicks her out the house. She's now a single mom. She gains weight. I'm pretty sure he cheated. If not, I don't know if he actually cheated, but he's just becomes a dirt bag. He's not taking care of the kids as much. He's going out, or the daughter, and he's just doing Scientology. He's putting all his money to do his Scientology. Meanwhile, he's not, and I know because I knew both of them, right? And I maintained friendships with both of them, but I really didn't like the guy because he was disgusting to be around. He would always talk about himself, typical narcissist. So even in Scientology, not everybody's good, not everybody's bad. It's the same like any situation, any organization. So I was just like, oh, he's annoying, can't stand him. And I used to shoot with him. He was I modeled for him before, and my ex was a photographer. So I would hear from her, and then I realized she was going in and she was working 3 jobs, and she was working for the school as a photographer, barely making pay. Because I said, oh, you're getting paid. You must have a good salary. She says, no, my salary is that my daughter can go to the school, can go to Delphi. Right. And I always thought that was weird, but I thought, well, maybe there is something wrong with her case. Maybe it is her. She didn't pull it in. Now I realize he wasn't freaking giving her any money. Meanwhile, he bought a huge house, had all these girlfriends, living the Hollywood life. She stuck with the daughter. I never saw the daughter with him, just like a Tom Cruise type situation. And she was working to the bone at this fancy school to try to afford her daughter to go there. And once they're in that Delphi school, so many kids are recruited into the Sea Org from there.
They are, right. I cannot wait for you to have your discussion in your live with Liz Gale.
I know. We'll talk about kids. We'll do it a lot with Liz Gale. I want to answer this question. You want me to answer this one? You put it on.
Please do.
Yes, ma'am. YRB, did your stepdaughter participate in the purification ritual, and what precautions for her medical health were taken? This is a great question. Yeah. So there's no precautions for health. You're supposed to go get a doctor's checkup to make sure you have no underlying conditions. That's it. Right. And you get guess what? You go to a Scientology doctor who knows you're going to get the okay, of course.
Basically like a school physical. Yeah.
Yeah. Literally. That's all it is. They don't draw blood. They don't do, they just ask you a few questions and I think put you on the scale. And it's a Scientology doctor at a Scientology clinic. Like it's a clinic run by Scientologists. A doctor's a Scientologist. He runs the clinic. So everybody goes to see him. Of course, he okays everybody, and everyone's on a fast time track. You're like, okay, I'm at Flag, in Florida for like 3 weeks. So, they're not going to take the precautions they would to really do a proper checkup or anything. They rush you right through. They have to. You just get this okay. And that, by the way, I'm sure is for the legal aspects of Scientology to keep their IRS standing. It's not for us. We thought it was for us, but they probably wouldn't give a care if you went to the doctor, but they have to keep their legal rudiments in. They have to protect themselves, and they probably have to report, oh yeah, everyone who's on pace has get medically cleared, right? So we start to realize too, all this stuff they talk about taxes, pay your taxes on time. It's not because we're supposed to be ethical. It's because if Scientology gets dinged by the IRS because they have too many people who are not
bad PR. It would just be
bad PR for them, You find all that out after, and how controlling and
you can't have any bad PR.
You can't have that, right? You're not allowed to have debt, but they make you take out massive debts. But if you have too much debt, they ding you on that, and it's also political and crazy.
It is. I do want to get into the IRS part of it. There's a little bit of a follow-up
Yes.
question. Do the parents get to go in with the child?
Well, I wanted to answer that question for the pure
Okay.
effort. So yes, she started her purification rundown, which is a ritual. You go in and you sauna. Listen, I had a great time because I love vitamins and I love a sauna. I'm a health freak girl, but for an 8-year-old body, it was very hard for her.
Right.
She's special needs. She could not take the vitamins. You have to take massive amounts of vitamins. They have the vitamins for kids. So it's like half the vitamins the kids would take than the parents. You're taking massive amounts of niacin, vitamin C, vitamin D to flush out toxins. It's a very intensive program that normal people don't need to do. Like if you had cancer or something, but this is like everybody has to do this in Scientology to get on the bridge, to go clear and then go
Right.
OT. So she had to do this at 8 years old. She's special needs, shows she's already autistic, and she had trouble taking the vitamins. She couldn't swallow them. So they ended up giving it to her in powdered. We had to pay for powdered vitamins. It's the whole program at Flag was 3,500 or 5,000. I can't remember. It was 3,500, I think, for her.
Unbelievable.
Me and my ex-husband paid for her to sit in the sauna. It didn't do anything for her. She didn't like it. And we could go into the sauna to see her, but we're not allowed to sit in there unless we're on the program. So we leave her with strangers in the sauna. And you know, she's with other people, but they're all adults. There was a few kids there too. We could see her in the changing room, like after you comes out into the little room and stuff. And I'm like, this is not normal. But there you believe it's normal, and they're like, this is the best thing for her future, for her spiritual health. She's
Right.
she's so lucky. And she wasn't damaged by it, but it wasn't the best thing. It's definitely not. Like, I'm sure, like, and now, what, I regret it. I 100% regret it. Knowing what I know now, I would never let her do any of that stuff because it is all ritualistic and it's all bizarre and it costs so much money and it doesn't help the individual at all. At all. There's no benefit for a child to sit in the sauna and take vitamins for 4 or 5 hours a day. Zero.
Besides what it did to her body on the inside of the organs and everything.
Yeah.
You never know. Right.
She's too young. Like, sauna and vitamins are not evil themselves, but for 30-day program too. What? Yeah. So yeah, I did see it, and they do that very regularly. And as you're approved to start the Purif at 8 years old.
Yeah. Nope. That's a big nope.
Very abusive.
Definitely not. So when I was looking through all of this way back when, my role in it was more on the administrative side of things for the advocacy, and knowing bureaucracy and knowing government, knowing how all of that part of it works. I thought, well, I can dig into the IRS part of it. And why haven't they revoked their status? And what I found going through all the different paperwork, a little bit boring stuff here, but is that there's 5 ways they can revoke your 501c3. And remember, you can be a church and have tax exemption, but to be the extra special is to be 501c3. So all churches have tax exemption. All churches do. If you're considered a church, you're tax exempt. But in order to get the special stuff like tax breaks and property tax breaks, grants, stuff like that, you have to get the 501c3. And they can revoke that. Well, Congress can, and the head of the IRS can. But there's 5 ways only to do that. The first 4 ways are adjudicated by the IRS. And the 5th way is adjudicated by the Department of Justice. The first 4 ways are because of inurement, meaning that somebody's getting paid off too much, political involvement, stuff like that. But the 5th way is if the organization that has the 501c3 does illegal activities or violates public policy. We all know they do illegal activities and violate public policy.
Absolutely.
So my thoughts were, so why haven't they revoked the tax exempt status, right?
Yeah.
Well, because on paper And in the courts, they're clean as a whistle. Scientology, they've had all sorts of tons of suits, none criminally, that have gone through, and all of these civil suits that have gone through have been either mitigated, taken through the court system, and all of a sudden they're going to lose, so they pay the people off. So nothing's on paper. Nothing is set in stone that they've done any illegal activities or violated public policy. So my thoughts were, okay, how do we get them on paper that they've violated public policy at least, or done illegal activities? And I talked with many people, one of which was the chief of police and several litigators, and trying to get all of that through there to get it on paper. I'm sorry, I've gone through this for like a year and a half, and I'm trying to condense it all in one little. And I love hearing you. Just hearing this, I'd love to have your questions or your feedback, or go what, So don't worry about interrupting me.
Okay.
But so, anyways, what I thought is to get this. Now, I talked with the chief of police, the representative there in LA, and he said, no victim, no crime. I know that sounds cold, but if people don't report, if people don't make claims and accusations, they have nothing to go bust the door down. They don't see kids with black eyes and casts on their arms. They can't go in and bust a door down for psychological damage because it's not evident. So no victim, no crime. And again, I know that sounds harsh, but it's true.
Yeah.
So people have to start reporting, whether it's in the past or current.
Wow.
And
start reporting it.
One of the things that Audit is she's my partner in crime for a lot of this stuff. But one of the things that we prayed on diligently, we did a fasting and prayer on a Shabbat, was that we would find a legal team, a lawyer, that would be willing to take this on, because so many attorney firms are, one, scared to death of Scientology. They've seen the litigation, they've seen the errors, they've been retained. So many of the firms are retained, so that way they can't go against them, right?
Wow, isn't that crazy?
So we asked for God to drop one in our lap. And
amen.
Like in a day, we had one of our viewers emailed me the Mormon podcast show that had gone on of this attorney firm, Andrews and Thornton, and that they've taken on the Mormons. They've taken on the Catholic Church. They've taken on the Boy Scouts.
Awesome.
So they ain't afraid.
They're not afraid. So they can take on Scientology.
So I started a conversation with them, and their specialty is sexual assault, sexual abuse, hiding sexual predators within an organization, sexual exploitation. So a lot of the sexual nature claims. And again, I played more of a matchmaker with this. I'm certainly not, it's not my case. It's not anything that I'm doing. But I went ahead and opened up the conversation with them, and they began the investigation. So I'm gonna pop them on here onto the screen. They are taking people to share their experience, past and present. So even those that are under the radar, they would love to hear stories. Now, justice comes different for different people.
Andrews and
some
Thornton,
people,
awesome.
Andrews and Thornton. And oh, here's a picture. Let me pop that back up here. Here's our Kimberly Dagonia. She is our superstar.
Wow.
She was an attorney down in Riverside, and she specialized in child crimes against children. And she is the lead investigator on this. She is the lead attorney
Wow.
on this.
Wow. This is awesome. So this is
She-
happening now?
Yes, it is. So
Oh
we've
my
already gone through
God.
the investigation stage. So I negotiated with her about a case proposal, and
Mona,
she
this is
said,
incredible.
this is incredible. Her
Ooh.
and Anne are, as I said, superheroes. They have capes. They hide their capes. They're just absolutely wonderful, wonderful ladies with
Oh,
power.
love
And
those kind of
so
ladies.
they are, and I've got in the description, I put their emails. I have her email in the description. She's not saying send it to the general info box. She's saying email me. If you have uh, sexual trafficking, if you have sexual abuse, anything concerning Scientology to where they hid the abuser, where you had your TR zeros, you were sexually exploited, email them. They'll set up an interview. They'll take on cases.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm looking them up here on my own page. This is amazing. I have to talk about this on my show too. This is
They are amazing.
so what's their email? Do you have the
It's in my description, but it's also Jojo Bananas just put it on there.
Okay, perfect.
There's two emails. There's Kimberly Dagonia, and then her assistant Natalie
This is awesome.
Penigua. I always get that last name screwed up.
Okay.
And so those are for.
Oh, perfect. Let me just copy it. Let me copy that too, because I'm going to talk about this. The big channels need to talk about this. This is fantastic. Wow. This is awesome.
Again, I just played matchmaker for this. It had nothing. I'm not part of the cases. I know nothing about the case.
Yeah, you're
reach out to them.
Advocacy.
When you reach out to them, you are reaching out to them in total confidence and total lawyer client privacy.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do with it. Nobody else does. That is completely between you and the lawyer. And as I said, justice looks different for different people. I have a few people that were sexually abused in nature, trafficked in nature, and it was way, way long ago, way too long ago to be part of the statute of limitations. But justice for them was being able to tell their story to somebody that might help.
Yeah.
Tell their story. Maybe it's going to show, maybe they could just be a witness of pattern and precedents.
Wow.
But it was telling their story. And to me, to them, that was their justice. They know that they'll probably never sue. They'll never have a civil claim. But it was being able to verbally tell somebody to get the weight off their shoulders. That was justice for them. So to me, that was just, God's just really put it in my heart to do that.
Wow.
So that's claim one. The second thing we worked with is a lady you haven't met yet. She's been kind of taking a break. Her name is Miriam Francis.
Okay.
And she's from Australia. And her story is very open, but her and I have talked quite a bit about what can we do? How can we help? How can we get justice? And there was a suit that just went through, an FBI Department of Justice suit. It was the United Nation of Islam. And I'm gonna pop that up. Told you there's lots to wrap your head around here. So please don't Da 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 da. And now it's not going to be on here. Let me see. The United Nation of Islam basically is Scientology light. In fact, I think they took a lot of what they did from Scientology.
Yeah, you're talking. Yeah, the Nation of Islam. That's a lot
Yep.
of them are Scientologists.
Yep,
Yeah.
the Nation of Islam. The United Nation of Islam is a sect of, it's a shoot
Of
off
NOI.
of NOI. Yes, it's
Wow.
UNOI.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And so these people had made claims. Some of them were children, and it went all the way back to the year 2000, and they used what's called the TVPA, the Traffic Victims Protection Act, to litigate the UNOI, the United Nations of Islam. And if you're reading through the UNOI claim from the FBI, they slave labored, they made them work, they kept them in dark places. But basically, as I said, everything Scientology does, you just needed to replace the name UNOI with Scientology. And this case, it took a couple of years to run through. It was brought in through the FBI, the Kansas City office. They were just found guilty in October of last year.
Oh my gosh.
This isn't like
Awesome.
10 years ago, 15 years, 20 years ago. This is brand new precedents.
Ooh,
Brand new. They were
good.
convicted. They were sentenced in February.
This is awesome. Of this year.
Of this year. So
Good.
cases such as, like, tomorrow, you're going to be talking with Claire Headley.
Yes, I am at 2:00.
Yep. Her and her husband, Mark, filed a claim through the FBI, through a federal claim, through the TVPA.
That's awesome.
And their claim actually got dismissed, but it was on different grounds. And I don't know all the specifics. But some of it was because of the ministerial exception and religious exemptions, stuff like that.
So terrible.
This case, this UNOI case, sets precedents to overcome that. So the second piece of that is I doggedly talked with the FBI of Kansas City folks, and they gave me, I said, look, how can the Scientologists do this? From labor trafficking, from all the same things. How can they do this? And I think they finally got sick of me, and they said, okay, here you go. This is what they need to do. And they gave me the 6 steps of go in, make sure that you fall into those claims for labor trafficking. Go in, hand them a copy of the UNOI claim and say, look, this happened to me, except for it was Scientology. Tell them your story, give them your claims, tell them what happened, and people need to start reporting. Why is this so important? Well, one, no victim, no crime. Again, if you're not reporting, if you're not telling it, a sad story is just a sad story without evidence and reporting.
Yeah.
As I said, I don't mean to be harsh.
No, but that's true. Legally,
those are
that's
just
how
the
they
facts.
Yeah.
And without having reporting, without having these lawsuits go through, Scientology is still going to look like they haven't hurt a soul. They have nothing on record.
Yeah, because nobody will make those record. They won't report those record. Like, put it on record. You have to report it. You have to write it out.
Sure. So that's been my mission. That's where I've been with the advocacy for the justice.
I love it.
And then the change What am I going to tell that 5-year-old girl?
Yeah.
You know, how do I make change? Well, by
6
advocating.
members of a former cult convicted of forced, is that what it says?
Yep,
They were
forced.
convicted.
Yeah, they were convicted of it. The leader
Oh,
was convicted. His wife was convicted.
wow.
Other high-ranking members were convicted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this sets precedents for that. So and they supposedly had their religious exemption too.
Just crazy.
It is. It's just nuts.
This is not what religion exemption was made for. It wasn't to protect the evil people. It was to protect the good people who are helping. And it's being used in such a twisted way. It
It
has to be
is.
looked at again. It has to be changed.
You know, the Supreme Court already said, this was years and years ago, it was Massachusetts versus the United States. No. Somebody help me in chat. Something versus Massachusetts. Anyways, it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they said that you can't excuse illegal activities and abuse because of your religion. So that's already been decided. That's already a done deal. Beside it being morally and ethically correct.
Right. So you can't excuse it. So
Yep.
So this law firm is right
Thank
now,
you,
what do they
Peter.
need? They need people's stories, right? Willing to go
Yep.
and
So you need to be willing to say, look, I was a slave labor since the year 2000, after the year 2000, because that's when TVPA became an act, became a law. So I Joy Villa in 2010, from 2010 to 2025, I was a Sea Org, or I was a slave labor, and this is what they did. This is how they coerced me. This is how they held me captive. It's the whole spiel, and make a report. And if you have one person do that, okay, it can be explained as a one-off. But
yeah.
this was 12 people.
Wow.
The UNOI claim was 12 people. We know how many people.
That's not even that much.
No, it's
And
not.
so they got convicted at the UNOI.
Yes, they did.
Wow. So see, if it only takes 12, we can get more than that. We have
And
to
their
everybody.
501c3 was revoked.
Ooh, praise God. We need to get this going. This is serious. I'm going to write a report telling my story.
You can claim, you can go in physically, you can file a claim online, you can call.
Wow.
There's 3 different ways to file a claim. And you know, once they start having people, the FBI is kind of like a big, you know, the black hole. Information goes in, and it's probably just goes
Someone
into
put the phone number up there too. Thank you, Haggis. Let me see. I'm just copying and pasting the phone number. It's in the chat. For when I do, I'm going to definitely talk about this on my show. This is awesome. You've done such good work, Mona.
And I've done videos on it, but it's the real work, like Jean Marie Davis. The real work starts with them reporting, the lawsuits happening,
Yep.
files being made,
Yep.
evidence being gathered. That's the real work.
And it was a 2-year lawsuit. For those of you who don't know, she won a lawsuit as a pregnancy center. They were shutting her down for free speech, putting it where because they did not do abortions, but they gave actual information to people who would come into the center and say, I'm pregnant, I don't have the money. She'd even get people who are college aged and kids up to 10 to help, grants and money, scholarships to be able to afford things. So it was like really huge. And they attacked because it was taking business away from the abortion clinics, right? It's always about money. And said, you're not allowed to give women information because it goes against what we want. And that was unconstitutional. You can't say that unless it's all clinics are not allowed, right? It has to be, you can't just say, well, I'm going to pick and choose because you're a pro-life clinic or a pregnancy center, but then this person can do it. No, if you're going to blanket statements. So, and it was up to a fine of $10,000. And she's like, 3 of those fines and we're out of business.
Put
And they're
her out
helping
of business,
thousands of
right?
women. So this was unconstitutional. They got the Alliance Defending Freedom to take on the case, a Christian law firm who supported pregnancy centers and believes in that. It's literally unconstitutional. It's First Amendment rights. You can't tell a woman, you can't prevent a pregnancy center from giving women choices. And they literally gave them choices, information on everything, and let the women choose and decide.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't say you're not allowed to do that, because that's what they do. They give educational, informational choices. And even if the woman walks away and gets an abortion and comes back, they would still help her with aftercare, physical, mental, emotional, whatever she needed.
Sure.
So this isn't us versus them. This is literally care for women in need. And a lot of the women were prostituted. So a lot of people don't know it's a huge market unfortunately, and so saving the lives of the children and the women and helping them with much needed care. So it was a 2-year fight, and they got ridiculed. People would call and harass the pregnancy center, and it was crazy. So they were fair gaming her. Exactly, Ganja girl. And I didn't know you were a Scientologist, former Scientologist, until you said that they've always make you feel like you pulled it in. And that was one of the worst things about Scientology. Absolutely. That it's insane how they make you feel that way. So Ganja girl called Jean too, because Jean put her number up there and said, you can call and talk to me. And I loved it. And you guys chatted.
Mm-hmm.
So, you were not a Scientologist. Oh, you're not a former Scientologist.
No.
You're a current Scientologist. No, I'm just kidding. We welcome current Scientologists to watch this broadcast, because you won't be for long, trust me. Oh, I misunderstood a typo. My bad. Okay. So you just know a lot about it. You're an advocate, which I love that. You're never in, but all in. I love it. Love it. I'm so surprised that there's so many people like that, because I'm like, wow, how kind of you to pick up this battle, when you haven't experienced it. That's what we really need. So it was 2 years in litigation, and they won. And so now they've actually changed the law that they can't stop free speech, that if someone writes a report and saying, oh, they shouldn't have offered this at that pregnancy center, then they also have to get looked at as a clinic that's not a pregnancy center. So it's like, now it's an even law. There's no favorites. And they won it against the state. They took it federal. So with this, we'd have to take this federal, because this is a federal crime.
That's an awesome thing. Exactly.
It would be amazing. And man, tell me, like, God is so good. Don't tell me, if we have this going and this is getting some eyeballs and they're doing it. I mean, what's to stop me from taking this to the president? Let me tell you.
Exactly. Thank you very much. I told you at the very beginning, that's where God's kind of put you on my heart to be a conduit for information, to get it there.
Praise God.
And that's kind of where I was stepping with this is
he can revoke that, whether you like him or not. It's not about politics, guys. I know a lot of people in this, they get political and they're like, please. This is about dismantling a abusive, dangerous cult. I wouldn't care. I don't like Biden, but if Biden was president, I'd be doing the same thing. I just never had a connection with Biden. I have a connection with Trump.
Exactly.
So, and I work with the Faith Office and have been, just came back from the White House a couple of weeks ago and told them I've left Scientology. So they know, they're watching, and there's a huge push for ministry. And the reason this is such a big deal, I want to say too, is like, it's not because we want everyone has to be a Christian. It's not about that, but it's because Christians, by their very nature, should be doing this, are supposed to be taking care of the weary, the beaten, the downtrodden. And Christians hate cults, and Scientology is a cult, but they think it's just a religion, belief of religion, if you don't tell them, no, this is actually a satanic, harmful, abusive cult. It's like, it has to be put in the correct way. Otherwise because Scientology's moved in and said, oh, we're religious protection, and nobody is allowed. And I don't even want to be like, well, okay, I guess I can get off my high horse and say, if you want to practice Scientology, it's up to you, right? Legally, you have to say that, sure, but you need to know what your religion is doing to people and how they're protected. And I actually don't think anybody should be practicing Scientology. And I think if they knew the truth, they wouldn't. And once they get their status, their religious exemption taken away, they become just the same as any other scam business that have to be exposed, right?
Glorified
MLM.
MLM. Yep.
Yeah, it's an MLM marketing
That's all
scam.
it is.
The fact that they're protected under religious exemption is something that an evil genius did. This, psychopath, L. Ron Hubbard, and the psychopath, David Miscavige, continue to propagate and push out as if we're just a
Exactly.
religion. And Christians, particularly because the White House is Christian right now, this is huge. And we have, and what that means is you have people who are open to listening to something because they're open to looking at, okay, is this an actual faith or is this an actual abusive situation, right? They're not a faith-based religion. Scientology has no God.
There's no faith.
There's no
Yeah,
faith.
there's
There's
no
no prayer. There's ritualistic abuse. There's psychological torture. So we have to differentiate, because otherwise what can happen is they get lumped into all this, like Muslims, Jews, Christians, Scientologists. We are the world. We're all just one. No. And whether you are religious or not, I'm not religious. I just love Jesus because he saved me. I'm not religious.
I agree. I'm with you there. I'm totally with you there.
Yeah. So it's not about pushing any religion, but about speaking to a massive portion of people that once it's revealed to them, they're going to go, oh my gosh, really? I thought, because I know a lot of Christians who are like, I didn't even know Scientology was bad. Like, I didn't even know what it was. Right? They just because when
just thought it was just some crazy religion that thought of science and aliens.
Yeah. You think, okay, exactly.
Yeah.
So they overlook it. That's just as bad as being a part of it, because you're not fighting it. You're not speaking out about it. So that is just as horrible, because you're also deceived that you think it's innocent. It's not a big deal because it's not on your backyard. So we have a lot to do to show. That's what Leah Remini started with. The Aftermath TV show was so freaking great. That's what Lawrence Wright started with the Going Clear documentary. Like, anytime it's in the public like that. So now it's time to keep hitting back big time. We have amazing, huge channels like Aaron's channel, which is massive. And he's live streaming like 3 times a day. I'm like, he's hitting them hard. He's on all the podcasts. Me coming out, I'm hoping my voice adds to it. So it's a collective group. Mona, your research, what you've done, this is huge. This is amazing. This is and us putting this together. I got to get with my prayer team, Minister Natalia. I know she's going to love this, because someone has said I should start a foundation as well, and I think I would like to help anything that helps, and that's just get some volunteers to help and do some stuff. But I forgot who said that, but she's like, they said, I think that was Jojo Bananas.
That was Jojo. Yeah.
And people have been saying that. I'm like, I'm praying about it. It has to be a God. It can't be a me thing. It wouldn't be a me thing. It would be something to be helping others with the correct. One thing I do know what I'm going to do is I'm going to dedicate a page to my website that has all this information, because people keep asking me for the links, because I'm like, Google it.
Oh, that's an excellent. And you have a big part, like with IG and Facebook and you do TikTok also?
A little bit. I have like 30,000 followers on TikTok. I hate TikTok, but I am on TikTok.
Yeah. I know Audit's always trying to get me to do TikTok. I'm like, I don't know a dang thing about TikTok.
Yeah.
But what I do know about is trying to help, like with changing the laws. There should be
begging the big
there should be new legislation that says people that have been trafficked or in cults such as this, statute of limitations don't apply.
Yeah.
Because how long did it take Jean Marie to come out of it and know, hey, I was trafficked? Exactly. And she probably was, but how long did it take you to know? Look at these kids.
It took me 2 years to realize how evil Scientology was. And I know people have taken them 10 years. They leave, but they haven't left.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. And I will testify, I've spoken in front of Congress before for free speech and for not being shut down and for not being shut down as a conservative filmmaker and creator, because they push over roles. And so I got asked by Jim Jordan to speak in Congress. This was during COVID. And I spoke in Congress. I was the only one who showed up in person. Everybody else was on Zoom. And it was diversity in film and television. I said, okay, not just diversity in physical form, because I think that's very important, absolutely, but diversity of thought. And I get discriminated because of my strong beliefs, right? I used to be way more political. I'm not political. I'm more ministry minded, advocacy minded, right?
Mhm.
Because politics is not going to save anyone, and it's left and right is a mess. So, conservatives don't like when I say that, but I'm like, it's the truth. Like, I hate politics. It just
The
makes people
political
fight.
game sucks,
It
really. It
sucks. It
does.
just makes
Yeah.
people fight. It's like sports. It's like, oh, go Red Sox. No, go Blue Jays. Like, who cares? Like, just chill.
Yeah.
I can't with this noise. I'm fatigued on it. But if it's a way to help people, and I can tell this caffeine's getting to me now, Mona. You got me fired up. I was tired when I started this live, and now I'm fired up. So I'm
Well,
Grammy,
I know I'm
got these juices flowing.
keeping you over the hour, but I do. I mean,
I love it though.
I have so many ideas, like with the legislative. The statute of limitations needs to be wiped clean for
Yes.
those that they're not going to know by the time they even know that they were trafficked or abused or had crimes against them. Statute of limitations is already gone. It's done. It's
Yep.
passed. That's
Yep.
bullshit. Excuse
Yep.
my language, but that's
It is.
bullshit.
It's so true.
Another thing is I've been trying to get past, Audit and I proposed, it's called an Obolinski law. Have you ever heard the name Serge Obolinski?
No.
So Serge Obolinski was a child of a Sea Org member, him and his brothers and sisters. And in fact, I think his mom is still in. He was out, I think he was 14, 15. He was outside playing with fireworks outside the Blue. And the fireworks blew off his hands and his eye. If you look at the Aftermath story, I believe there was an Aftermath story with him. I'll send you a link to it.
Okay.
So he was in a Sea Org for a while before that had happened. But all of a sudden now he's a person with a disability. What do they do with people with disabilities?
Kick them out.
Kick them out because you're able.
I knew one deaf girl, a deaf Sea Org member. She's out of the Sea Org now. I hope she's out of Scientology. But I was like, wow, she's deaf and she's a talented artist. I'm glad she's out. The problem is once you leave the Sea Org, it's a little aside. I know because you're telling a story, but once you leave the Sea Org, you can't necessarily just leave Scientology. You're out of the Sea Org, great. But now, how do you get a job? You have zero skills except for what they put you in the Sea Org. I mean, I was in the Sea Org for a month, but I did set up everything to be able to be in there. And when I left, I was very dependent upon Scientologists at the time. And they give you jobs, they welcome you, and then you have a freeloader bill. So you owe a ton of money legally that you've signed, and you signed all this, your life away. So once they leave the Sea Org, that's why these foundations exist too, like Aftermath and SPTV, to help them with a job or place or set up to get away, because you're still dependent upon the Scientology community.
Or even get a driver's license or learn to drive or get your
never let you have
your
in
birth
there.
certificate, everything. Right. Well, okay. So it's always something. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. He was 13 or 14 when he joined the Sea Org. He was 19 when the accident happened. So anyways, his mom said, well, and she was supposed to disconnect from him. And she said, no. I'm at least going to help him get an apartment and get his Social Security going.
Oh my gosh.
So he got an apartment, but of course he's 19. He's been in the Sea Org. He knows nothing. He didn't graduate even high school, had no education. So he didn't know how to take care of himself in an apartment or a house all by himself. He ended up homeless. So he became the handless man on Hollywood Boulevard.
Are you serious?
For like 10, 12 years, he was homeless.
Oh my gosh.
And just wandering, and he would just sleep outside, even like the testing center, and they knew who he was. They knew darn well who he was. And he was just is totally disconnected. To this day, he still has not talked to his mom or his brother.
Oh.
He did find the Aftermath, a sociology person found him, helped him get a rep payee, get him into a housing situation.
Good.
And I've had the pleasure of getting to talk to him a few times. I've watched him do his art and stuff like that. He's just a fabulous person. But the law would say, this is the law we proposed, was that if you've been in the Sea Org, especially under 18, for 5 or more years, and they all of a sudden you leave, or if they kick you out, that they need to make sure and provide wraparound services, housing, temporary housing, help you get your documents set up, your
Yes.
schooling.
Yes. Well, you know, they're not allowed. So I was in Scientology, I believe it's worldwide that they're saying you can't join the Sea Org under 18 anymore. They changed that rule. I believe that went into effect. Is it true in America? I know in South
Nope.
Africa. No, you can still join the Sea Org underage.
Yep.
Because I know people were mad about it. In South Africa, they pushed it, and I believe it was still the UK. They pushed it to 18. You're kidding me. So because I lived overseas, and they
Nope.
had to stop. They were recruiting a bunch of kids, and then they had to wait a year, 2 years until they could join, and everyone was upset about that. And I was like, well, that's probably a good thing that you're 18. No. So 16. So they have you volunteer at 15 and then 16. In America, it's 16. How crazy is that?
That's freaking crazy.
I thought they changed the law, the worldwide. That's crazy.
Nope. And to be real honest, anybody under 14, it's totally illegal to have them work at all. So they changed it to 16. 15, you can volunteer, which 16, that's just semantics, because you're really volunteering for $40 or $50 a week anyway.
Oh yeah, you're volunteering
anyway. You're not really getting paid to do anything. But yeah, that's just crazy.
With
that's absolutely crazy.
Okay, probably, right? That's insane. There should never let you live with other people under it's a boarding school, which I also think boarding schools are weird. It's a boarding school where you have to have slave labor. You're not actually graduating with an education. And these parents are okaying their kids to go in there. Yeah, that's crazy. I met a lady in the Sea Org when I was recruited to go in. I wanted to go in at the time because they tell you all these fabulous things. You feel like you're going to save the world. You're like joining the Avengers. Like you're going to be the ideal Sea Org, and you have all your friends and everything's done for you. And all you have to do is just like, you just get statistics and help make the world a better place. And then when you get in there, it's very tough. I cried many
completely
times.
180 degrees.
Oh, they force you. And then you feel like it's your fault. Like all good cults, it's always your fault. The group is always right, right? I cried because the pressure there is so intense, so many times.
Yeah.
I thought I couldn't make it, but I met a woman in there. She was an older lady in her 60s, and she says her whole life she was coming back into the Sea Org, because people leave and then they have like programs you can go back in, and they keep recruiting you until you've done LSD or you're declared SP or something. They're going to keep recruiting you. They like to get people back in, and unfortunately, some people get back in. Sometimes the only way to get out is to have a baby. And that's what a lot of Sea Org members do to escape. They get pregnant on purpose. It's so sad. I have so many stories. But this lady, she started in boarding school or Catholic school or something like that. And she wore a uniform. Then she became a nurse and she wore a uniform. And she said, and then she joined the Sea Org at like 18 or 16 or something back in the day. She's now in her 60s. She says she's worn a uniform her whole entire life.
That's amazing.
I thought, how sad. Like, and that your whole adult life, you're in the Sea Org. And she had left apparently, and then came and was back in. And I was just like, and you think, okay, well, it must be good if people are coming back in, right? And then they make it this elite place. So you feel like you should come in and you should stay in. And this is the most elite, but it's the most tortured. It's the most traumatized of Scientologists. And once you're in, I can't believe they're still letting people underage be in the Sea Org. One of my really good friends was recruited in the Sea Org at 13, and she's been out for years, and she's no longer a Scientologist. Praise God. But yeah, she was recruited at 13. She was a runaway, and that's how they got her. They get traumatic. They feed on your trauma. It's so satanic. It's so evil. It's like a horror movie. Like these demons.
Right. It is. Yeah. And so this is kind of where you come in is, when you're looking at, well, one, your audience and having people that might be under the radar to report and to know that they have options, that they can live a better life.
Yes.
You as an example.
Sorry, hold on. Twyla Luna says Chicago org, 19-year-old. I was at Chicago org. I audited half most of the staff. Who is that 19-year-old? Somebody says a 19-year-old has been working at the org 2.5 years. But I don't think he's Sea Org. Not if he's in the org staff. Do you know his name? And Twyla, sorry, in the chat.
That's okay. Nope, that's fine.
Yeah, because I know a lot. I know hundreds of staff members, but
I'm like the worst person at bringing up chat. And
Chris, yes, I audited Chris, him and his brother. Oh my gosh, I audited Chris. Do you know Chris? Oh my gosh, poor Chris. Chris and his brother, sweethearts. I think his brother's 21 or 22 and he's 19. Yeah, they are so poor. They didn't have enough money for lunch and they're working on it's actually almost worse when you're on staff because you don't get paid anything on staff. You're supposed to make a percentage and you have to pay completely for your own room and board, your own food, everything. In the Sea Org, they do house you. The torture's terrible. But on staff, you still work like 12-hour days and they don't house you and they don't feed you. At least in the Sea Org, they house you and they feed you, but it's because you're signing on your life. Like you're not supposed to ever leave. Staff, you sign on 2.5 years or 5-year contract. I've been on staff too. Current video out about Chris? What?
We'll have to find that, Twyla. We'll have to find that.
Yeah, please. Oh my gosh. If he's out or what's going on, because Chicago org, what a weird, twisted place. I audited.
Yeah, I've got stories about Chicago org. We need to talk. Yeah.
That was only a year and a half ago I was there. And I audited almost all that staff, did some intense, not at the new Chicago org. I audited the staff. Oh, it was
before they opened up the ideal org.
Right before they opened up the new Chicago ideal org. It was the old org, but it was the whole, they were doing a mission, a Scientology mission, and I was helping recruit and I sang for them. And anyways, they recruited me to join staff and I was in such a low condition mentally and physically. I was depressed. And this was when I left the UK and I was like, it's not working. They're like, in Chicago, you can finish your internship. And you can join staff and you can audit. They wanted me to audit all the NOIs because being an auditor is like a huge thing. And they're like, there's tons of Black people here and you can do your art. It was a friend of mine from the UK. She called me and she flew me out and said, I want you to sing. It was a trap. So I came out and I sang for their event. I knew it was going to be a fundraising recruitment event. Fine. But then once I was there, they put me at Trump Tower and they put what's it called when you sign your signature, a contract for staff in front of me, and literally would not let me leave until I signed that contract. And they peer pressured me. Now,
no coercion whatsoever.
Exactly. And I signed it and they're like, you're on staff. You'll be our auditor. We'll help you finish your thing. And then you can get into the Sea Org as a celebrity. Like it was insane. I was so desperate. So what I did is I audited, I did a lot of requirements. I took in session Chris, who's so sweet. His brother plays piano, very talented piano player. They're just lost boys, very lost boys. Their family just basically abandoned them there because they're there all day and they're skinny. They're trying to, it's terrible. It's terrible. I had to leave Chicago after 2 weeks. It was very depressing too. The old org was in a basement and it was like, I was like, oh my gosh. But I was there just auditing these guys away. And it was all Sea Org there on this mission to then get enough staff. All I was a recruitment device for them. Right. And I actually said, I'm not going to do this. This is not, I left. I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I don't want to be here on staff. That was not my intention, guys. They hated me. There's tons of reports and they kept trying to get me on staff. They wrote reports on me. And I was like, and you're not supposed to recruit celebrities. I mean, that's what they call celebrities if you're known. But they were so desperate and they wanted a Black auditor. And again, Scientology, extremely racist. They've told me that more than once. We want a Black person here. We need a woman here. Whatever floats.
You checked all the boxes.
I did. And I was so desperate at the time. And my girlfriend was there. She flew me out and said, just sing here. It's going to be great. Volunteer time. I'll put you in. My friend is in an apartment. They gave me the keys to an apartment. It was all an elaborate trap. I haven't even talked about that in Chicago org. And it was pretty tough. to be there, but I felt
I'm
really bad
sorry.
for those kids.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry you had to deal with that. I truly am.
Oh, I did
That
not
must
say,
have been
yeah, did not say stay long in there. Oh my gosh, a video came after a protester in Chicago because a Scientologist bumped into her chest. Oh,
well, it was Nancy Drew, and she was protesting, doing some chalk drawing. There's a whole bunch more
oh,
to
I
it.
want to see
But
that. Is this the
she
link?
ended up, he
Maggot
said she touched her with her boob. And so it ended up, we called it Boob Gate.
with
And they,
Chris?
no, I don't think it was Chris. It was just, it was a Scientologist. Chad, I
They're
think.
so
Chadwick was his name.
Oh, they're so influential in Chicago. Well, at that new Chicago org, they're not really influential in all of
Yeah.
Chicago, but there's some major mega donors in Chicago. They push hard for the
Yeah.
staffing, and now they've
There's
opened up
some
to org.
there's some definite funny money that goes through Chicago org. But as I said, we need to have a whole different
Oh yeah,
conversation on that part of it.
we do.
So yeah, there's just different legislation, different laws, different agreements. In 1993, when they got their 501c3 status back,
Yep, under Bill
they,
Clinton.
the agreement that they made with the IRS and with Congress was, we pinky promise, since 1986, we haven't done any illegal activities or violated public policy, and we never ever will again, which is
Mm,
bullshit.
mm,
And
mm,
we
mm.
all know that. So there's ways for us to go in and get that revoked. We just need to have the filings. We need to have the evidence. We need to have the reports done in order for you, little Miss Joy,
Mhm.
baby
Yes,
girl Joy, to go into Mr. Trump's office and say, darling, they have
yes,
violated public policy. They're doing illegal activities. Here's the proof. Here's our stats. Wouldn't it be
yes.
funny if they get taken down by stats? And this is this is where we need to go. This
Wow.
is my
Yes,
mission.
yes, yes, and more yes. Absolutely. Yep. I need this. Anything you can do to put this stuff together and then just be my researcher on it. And then we'll put, like you said, I'd like to get 50 or 100 letters.
Sure.
Let's get a stack of people and everybody from, like Leah's show. We have to get all the old school guys too, and the new ones that have come out since then. People who are willing to do, get an affidavit, right? Testify. I have to call this place, this lawyer, this law company. It's a lot. I didn't realize you dropped a lot. You dropped a bomb on me,
I did. I'm
Vegas.
sorry, but this is what I've been trying to. I've
I
been
love
like,
it. No, I
okay,
love it.
Joy, I need an hour of your time. Let's do this.
She actually gets
Let's
me.
do
But
this.
I can't say no to Mona. I cannot say no to Mona. Andrews and Thornton. Okay, so please send me an email with all the contacts you have. Maybe you can connect me and say Joy's willing to help out, right?
I sure will.
Awesome. And then we'll see what we can do. What we need to see what they need, the law firm, to solidify it. And then we build up the case, right? This is all I know from watching TV shows about law. I don't know a lot about law, but I haven't worked on litigations. Even though I've worked in Washington on a few things and
So with
bills.
the Andrews and Thornton, it's more of a what they did with the Mormon case, the LDS case,
Yeah.
is each individual case is a case on its own accord. So Joy goes in and she makes a claim, she does a civil suit, and then Mona goes in and she does a civil suit. They're not joined. What they
Hmm.
do is administratively they're joined, so they have one judge that's overseeing the separate cases. And they could be both of us are in California, or somebody's in New York,
Are
or
they willing
somebody's
to
in
do this
LA.
pro bono?
Yes, they are.
Oh my gosh. Wow. How did you
Yes.
do this, Mona? How did you get them?
God only,
God, she
God.
already she's slick. She got it done. She's like, yeah, let's go, Joy. How can I say no? The hard
No,
part.
God did this. Nope, this
Wow.
is the
God,
God
praise
thing.
God. Praise your holy name. Thank you, Jesus. This is incredible.
Yep.
Wow. This is awesome. This Mona is a superhero, says Ganja Girl. This is awesome. The chat is lit up. I really hope Trump can eventually help. Me too, Ganja Girl. That would be the thing. And I've been talking to Alex Barnes Ross about us talking to Trump because, he's doing the UK stuff. You're doing the stuff you've done now. This is awesome. And it's like talking to Trump and getting a case presented to him. Imagine he's the president that overturns the IRS status from Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is the one who granted them that in 1993. And President Trump, it'll be for his legacy. Politicians, as all politicians are narcissistic, you want to make it easy for them to say yes, right? But I do believe Trump could be a huge help and do this. And he does care about, a situation like this. How can you not? And to get Pam Bondi to see, right? Because I know Pam Bondi apparently toured Flag and she's had some connections with Scientology. But when you see this stuff, it's in Florida. And if we take it to the president, we take it to the White House and we make it where it's already, the work is already done. It's like, here it is. Then that makes it easy. So there is a lot of work to be done. Clinton's roommate in college was a nice Scientologist. They're all nice people. Almost all of them
are
are
nice
people. Yeah, that's the sad thing. So that's why you see somebody close to the president. That's why I didn't know that. Wow. That's verified. It's always something. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Where's that? Where's your source on that? If you know, I'd like to read
it. It's always something. As we're in contact quite a bit. In fact, she lives near you, and we'll get that information to you.
Yes, please, because that helps me. The more I know, because that's one thing I can do is like push home a talking point and get it out into the media and make it a part of this. Wow, this would be incredible. So awesome. Yeah. Well, everybody here, I have to jump off. We've done an hour and a half and I love it. And
thank you so much. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Joy. I will get you information so that way you can further the information.
Let's do this.
I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I appreciate your time. Love you and love the chat. I see a lot of friendly faces. And Sunrise had said something like she didn't know until talking about hearing our testimony, my testimony, and hearing you talk about Scientology, that it was a cult. She thought it was just a religion. See, so we have to change because they've worked very hard in the last 70 years to make themselves seem like, we're just one of the religions out there. No, you're a dangerous cult, and masking yourself behind religious exemption makes all religions look bad. So yeah. Oh, thank you, chat. Please support your girl, Mona.
I'm going to stay on to answer any questions.
Okay, great.
Chat through. Thank you, baby girl. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning.
Yes. I'll answer one more question because this was funny. Somebody said, what do you think about the term WOG, Walter Oscar George? So it stands for Western Oriental Gentleman. And WOG is a derogatory term for anyone who's not a Scientologist, literally. So it'd be like, oh, she's a WOG. But they've changed the culture in Scientology. Is you're not supposed to tell people they're WOG. You're not supposed to say WOG. You're supposed to say non-Scientologist. It's become un-PC in the last few years to say WOG. But L. Ron Hubbard talks about WOG a lot. Westernly Oriental Gentleman, which is supposed to be a slur on Oriental people trying to be like white guys. So it's like, it's a slur for non-Scientologists. So, happy to be a WOG.
And an SP,
and
WOG.
An SP, exactly. WOGs and SPs unite. So stupid. All right, guys. Love you. Thank you, Mona. We'll be in touch. I'll see you guys at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Everybody jump on my show. We'll talk about this. Bye.
Bye, Joy.
Bye.
Okay, big face. So I really apologize, you guys. I did not keep up with questions and just totally did not get to the protest part of it. I am so sorry. We got to talking too much. But she's been advertising and promoting the protest. Sorry, Ganja. Sorry, Audit. It is. It's a racial term in non-American English-speaking countries. It is. Yep, that's what the WOG is. And I did not look to see. Let me go back up a little bit here, see if I can catch up with everything. Again, I am so sorry. I get to talking and then I can't multitask. Let me see if there's any questions that were run through here. They were probably for her anyways. Yeah, I'm glad that she, Amy, I can answer that for you. Yep, she does get bothered now. She's definitely getting harassed. And the more vocal she is, the more she's getting harassed. That is a good question, Amy. I'm not too sure if Jean Marie has sought justice against her traffickers. We'll have to ask her that tomorrow. And thank you, guys. It is Princeton versus Massachusetts. Yep. Oh, you guys, that was a great conversation. So again, I apologize for not getting to the protest. I know she needed to hop off. I'm sorry about that. Did you guys have any other questions that before we pop off for the night? It's already a 6:30 around here. Okay, you guys. Well, I will hey Kathy, hello. Yep, I will put information together for her. This could be a good thing, you guys. This could be very inspirational to get. When is the protest? The protest is Sunday, June 15th, from noon to 10 p.m. in LA. Woohoo! 2 more days I will be in LA, and I get to give my sweet audit a hug, give my ganja a hug, give Gina a hug. I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger. Okay, you guys. And I don't have a copy of the thing on here. I'm sorry. Of that beautiful. Sunday is going to be epic. I agree. Hugs all around. Everybody gets a hug. You get a hug and you get a hug. I'm ready for it. Okay. Signing off, you guys. Love to you all. Bye-bye.